Hi there, it's Thursday, and that means it's another exciting episode in my The Single series. So as I give some time today, I'm going to make a couple of announcements as we start waiting for people to log on. The Single series is coming to an end almost, I'd say another week or two. And I can see Catherine has just logged in. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Bev. I can see you're in as well. Just reminded me I need to grab a pen to write down who needs which recipe. So welcome for all of you that are logging in today, either via Facebook or Insta. Some of you get personal reminders from me on a weekly basis that the live is going to take place. And I'm going to be opening up my own channel on Telegram as well. So if you do want to stay in the know, definitely shoot me a message, because then I need to send you the invite link to that channel, please. Thanks, Michelle. Yes, that's a beautiful lavender field, and that sun in the background behind that tree just setting is just exquisite. So thank you so much. I can see Maria's just logged in. Welcome, welcome. It's good to have you on Insta. So for those of you that do get a regular message from me every week, just a reminder to send me a message to send you that Telegram link so you can get into my channel as well. So let's get started today. This is an odd oil we're going to be talking about today on my Botanically page, Alchemy of Soothing Botanic Ingredients. Yes, Jill has just reminded me I haven't introduced myself. Tanya Jooste here from Botanically, Dr. T, as most of you call me. So welcome today. Thank you so much for joining in. We're going to be talking about an oil which, I'm going to be really honest, I am not very fond of the smell. And I think it's because, there's always a story with smells. And if we know how smells work with the limbic brain and how it recalls memories, that's also how it affects the neurochemistry of your brain, by the way. Basically, it reminds me of when I was little and we used to go camping, and make no mistake, I love camping. I could go on camping trips and road trips for months on end without getting bored, because it's just, it's such a simple life. I absolutely love it. I really adore roughing it a bit. But this particular oil we're talking about today, Citronella, reminds me of when we were in areas where the mosquito load was incredibly high. And the citronella candles and the lotions and the soaps and the you name it, we tried it all and it didn't really work. And guess why? Because it wasn't the real thing, right? It was always a part of a chemical constituent that was produced in a lab. Well, I can see there's lots more people logging in now. Hi, Jill. Jerry, you've also just logged in on Facebook. Welcome, welcome. So when they're lab synthesized chemicals, sometimes it doesn't have the desired effect that you're after. And today we're going to be talking about the real thing. So I'm definitely going to be getting my hands on some of this essential oil, because believe it or not, it's not just an insect repellent. I hope most of you saw earlier in the week the difference between citronella, which we are so accustomed into South Africa. When you walk into a nursery and you want to get yourself a citronella plant, because planting some of them around the home is definitely going to decrease your mosquito load, we generally get the geranium version of the citronella in South Africa. And where the essential oil is distilled from is actually from the plant that looks incredibly similar to lemongrass. So most people get very confused between the two. But they are all, both are called citronella plants. But I think the one we have in South Africa is slightly different from our essential oil. So, thanks, Jerry. Enjoy the compliment. Cool. So for those of you that have just joined, remember I mentioned my new Telegram channel. So if you want to be part of that, just put it into the comments so that you can be reminded of all the weekly education that's taking place. And there will also be some tips and tricks that I post in there as well that's going to help you along your essential oil journey. So just let me know. So let's get started with this Citronella essential oil. I don't have it yet because it's not a favorite smell, because my childhood memories tell me that it's not something that's functional. I am always function over anything else. I tend to not buy things if they don't work. So after today's research, I'm definitely going to be getting my hands on citronella, because not only can I use it as an insect repellent, there's very many other health benefits that this essential oil is going to provide for your body. So it contains mainly citronellol, 30 to 60% of the chemical constituent, and citronellol, you'll learn in today's live session, there's quite a lot of benefits to support the body for health-wise. Then we also have geraniol, and we also have citronellol. So the geraniol is 10 to 35%, and then the citronellol is 2 to 12%. Now, Not that the chemical constituents may ring a bell to you, but this is an oil that's going to be sort of a cross and very similar, I guess, to chemical constituents of geranium essential oil and lemongrass. So you can also start seeing how the chemical constituent shared between different essential oils of different plants. It gives it some of the medicinal benefits, yes, but also the fragrances that these oils do bring across, because the aromatic compound or profile of citronella is sort of a lemony, grassy, very reminiscent of lemongrass, but definitely has got that tinge of geranium in it because of the geraniol that's in there. And that's obviously where the fragrance is coming from, is also from the chemical constituents. So if we look specifically at the main chemical constituent, citronellol, it's basically a very powerful cleanser on the one side. Most of the chemical constituents in citronella are actually regarded as incredibly cleansing, but there's many other benefits that come with it. So the citronellol is mostly responsible for the insect repellent activity, but it's also really good for the anti-inflammatory benefit. So here we're going to talk specifically about the anti-inflammatory benefit with regards to toxins. I wouldn't say damaging necessarily, but causing an additional load on some of your organs, especially your liver. So we'll get into a little bit more detail there. That's what the citronellol is going to be there for. Geraniol, obviously, that we find in very high concentrations in rose and geranium essential oil, is incredibly good for gut health and colon support, amongst other things like being antiparasitic and the emotional sides, basically. But it's also got very high analgesic properties, the geraniol itself. And then if we also then look at the citronellal, so it's the OL and the AL, right? So we've spoken about the OL, so the AL is going to be specifically for, I'm going a wrong way around here. So the AL is the anti-inflammatory one, and the OL is definitely going to be the analgesic, so the pain relieving side of the geranium essential oil. It blends incredibly well with other essential oils as well. And if you're like me, you're going to probably want to blend, because I'm not necessarily sure that citronella might be, it might not be one of your favorites. But I think if you are going to blend it with other things, it's going to make the fragrance a little bit more appealing. And we really do need to start diffusing citronella, because the emotional benefits, remember we're always targeting emotional benefits more when we are diffusing, is quite exceptional specifically for citronella essential oil. So we are going to need to learn how to blend this oil really nicely with other oils so we can still get that therapeutic benefit. If we think about the geraniol component, very, very good specifically for colon health and supporting the cells in your colon. There's a very good reason why our detoxifying blend actually contains essential oils which are very high in geraniol, and it's specifically because of that gut health and that colon support that specific molecule is providing our bodies. So very, very good for gut health, and that's probably one of the reasons why I'm going to have to get some citronella, because although I do have geranium and rose, applying the citronella then topically is going to be a really good idea to support things like the lower colon area, for example, and even some of my organs as we now start to learn, because the citronella Citronellal, the AL in other words, where it ends, has got the anti-inflammatory benefit and the redox support. So there's a really nice study where they've actually shown how the redox potential is affected and how the anti-inflammatory benefit can be really beneficial when you have been exposed to toxins. So things, for example, food additives or preservatives and emulsifiers that are not necessarily that good for your body. There are also some of us that are really sensitive to certain ingredients. One of them, for example, being carrageenan, and this specific study that I'm speaking about now actually refers specifically to that, where the chemical constituent in the citronella named citronellal, so with the AL, actually provided a protective benefit specifically with regards to the anti-inflammatory benefit and the redox potential when we're looking at the toxins that are damaging something like our liver, because our liver actually gets the toxins out of our body. So citronellal, lalal, in the citronella oil is going to be really supportive when you're going to be applying it topically, specifically over the liver area. And usually your liver, if you listen to Chinese medicine, there's a specific bracket at night when your liver is performing at its peak. That's usually when people wake up when they've had too much alcohol. So it's between 1 and 3, right about there. So specifically, the Citronella Essential Oil is going to be really supportive there. So applying it topically before you go to bed may be a really good idea to support your body to work through all those toxins that you've just exposed it to. Just interestingly, with Chinese medicine, I mean, originally the citronella, Sri Lanka, it's mostly found in Sri Lanka and in China, and for the Sri Lankans have been using it for skin irritations for a very long time. And if you think about it, skin irritations are almost always related because of a gut health issue. And Chinese medicine, it's used for rheumatic pain. And that anti-inflammatory benefit and the analgesic benefit, which is coming from the geraniol, is really, really important here. And that's probably why scientifically they're now showing in studies why this essential oil is so beneficial, and it has been used very effectively in all these older medicines from very, very long times ago. So there's also quite a lot of information and studies on antifungal treatment with specifically citronella. And in the study that I read this morning, they were talking specifically about Aspergillus niger. This is actually an organism that I worked with in the lab for very many years. And it's quite ridiculous as when you're working in the lab, how unaware you sometimes are of the things that are around you. And obviously the spores can cause a lot of problems, specifically in people that have an immune system that is quite compromised. But definitely the Citronella Essential Oil is incredibly effective at sort of bursting that outside layer. So really good antifungal. And for that same reason, it's going to be really good if you want to use it in between your toes, for example, or on your toenails for that really good toenail health when you are struggling with some kind of fungal infection. Definitely there for a very good essential oil that you could perhaps try to clean your bathroom with. So there's some very good essential oils that you can make sort of a bathroom blend from. And then you would use this bathroom blend, for example, when you are putting it into your natural home cleaner to scrub your shower, or into the specific pods that you are using to clean your toilet with, or even just putting 1 or 2 drops of the blend that I'm going to mention now in your rinse water or your mopping water, so that you can sort of have an antiseptic benefit. So the antibacterial and the antifungal benefit when you are washing the floors and you're cleaning the floors, because there's anti-greasing power as well, but then definitely supporting with specific nunus that you're going to be finding in the bathroom area. So the oils that are really good for a sort of bathroom blend include bergamot, lavender, cinnamon, lemon, and citronella. And you can just imagine with that cinnamon in there, how incredibly beautiful that blend's going to be. So if you would like me to send you that exact bathroom blend with the amount of drops you would put in that blend to have sort of a master mix, and then from that master mix, you'll use a couple of drops into whatever application you're using. If you want me to send that list of oils, please just comment there, bathroom blend, and I'll get that straight to your phone. But because it's so antifungal, it's going to be a really good one specifically for bathroom use as well. Then it's also been quite thoroughly researched for wound care, where they have shown specifically many animal studies already that because of the antibacterial properties, it's really supportive, specifically when you're looking at wound healing. And you all know my wound mix, or my wound oil as I call it, usually contains things like frankincense and lavender and tea tree. Sometimes I add a little bit of rosemary in there. And after I did some research for citronella, I'm definitely going to include citronella in there as well. I can see there's a lot of things coming through for bathroom blend, so that's cool. I'll get that blend to you in your messenger as soon as possible after today's live. And then if we go to the next one, this is going to be quite intriguing for a lot of you. And this is where the aromatic part is going to be really important. Weight loss. Ha! What did you know? So basically, they've done this amazing study where aromatically, the components in citronella essential oil decreases hypoglycemia, so blood sugar levels, right? And we all know that that's going to have to do with the satiety feeling. So if you are a little bit more pickish than you should be at around 3 or 4 in the afternoon, definitely, I mean, we already know cinnamon is incredibly powerful for something like that. But why not add a couple of drops of citronella to your diffuser and see how that's going to do for you? We obviously have many other metabolic blends that are going to be really supportive, but citronella was one of the ones that came up in one of the studies that I researched today. I was quite impressed by that knowledge. So yes, I can see that there's some I think Instagram is a little bit delayed. I'm just going to write down here who needs all the recipes specifically for that bathroom blend. And yes, so diffuse some citronella and let me know how that goes. I'm definitely going to try that one out, especially in the mornings because I do intermittent fastings. And like today, I was perfectly fine. Most of the week, I'm actually fine. But there are some days where I wake up hungry, but like super hungry. And obviously the intermittent fasting does my blood sugar really, really well. I don't get hangry anymore, all kinds of other benefits that we're not going to go into in today's life. But when I am that incredibly hungry, I'm definitely going to put some citronella on my diffuser and see if it has a benefit for me as well. All right, so if we're then going to look into specifically the top uses, and here it's obviously referring to the chemical constituents that are in this essential oil because that is why they are there. That's what they are doing. So we're thinking here insect repellent properties. We're thinking insecticidal, very detoxing to the liver. So it's detoxifier, cleanser. It's also bactericidal, which means it actually kills the bacteria. Antifungal, as we just talked about, that beautiful article that I mentioned. It's also got astringent powers, and a lot of people actually understand the citronella, which is really good for skincare specifically. So definitely a good one to add into your skincare routine. But please note, it's one of those oils that shouldn't be used neat. So definitely a good idea to not oversensitize yourself and definitely dilute the citronella before you start using it. And it can also be used very effectively as a deodorant. And the reason for the deodorant and the insecticidal activities and the repelling activities being so incredible for citronella specifically, it has staying powder. So we all know that lemon eucalyptus is really good specifically for mosquitoes, for example, and that the citronella is always been talked about being very insecticidal specifically for mosquitoes, but it's actually mentioned more for when kids, for example, have that little bug in their hair that you've got to sit there with that comb out. Very, very beneficial for those types of insects as well. So adding a drop or two to your shampoo is going to loosen them up and sort of repel them a little bit more. So then removing them becomes a lot easier. So for a lot of those head recipes where we are talking about those little insects in kids' hair when they've picked them up from school, definitely give the Citronella Essential Oil a try. But because of that staying power, it actually lasts on the skin for a lot longer. And we're trying to obviously keep the language as compliant as possible. So yes, I can see some comments coming through. Just remember why I'm saying the things that I'm saying. And then basically if you have it on your skin, diluted with some carrier oil, obviously because it is a little bit more sensitive of an oil, it's going to have a longer lasting power. So the insect repelling activity is going to last a lot longer. And I found that quite interesting. Whereas most of I'd say the top note essential oils flash off your skin really quickly, from a couple of minutes to maybe 1 or 2 hours. Some of them last longer. The base oils, for example, could last up to 3 or 4 hours. But the citronella actually lasts longer than that. And I didn't know that. So that was also a really nice thing that I learned today. If you do want to sort of have a list that's nifty to have on your phone for all kind of bug repelling spray essential oils, so just a list of a couple of them that you can make your own bug spray out of. It won't be necessarily a specific recipe, but just some of the oils for a suggestion that you could make a bug spray from. These could include, of course, citronella, things like lemon eucalyptus, geranium, lemongrass. That does really well. And if you want a list of those oils, again, just put in the comments for me bug spray ideas, and I'll send that off to your phone as soon as possible. So we've talked about the insect repelling activity, and this includes, for example, in all the articles that they mention, fleas and ticks. And it's also one of the oils that's a little safer to use around pets. So I'm still a little wary of cats specifically, but I know there's quite a few people who say they use their Citronella Essential Oil specifically on horses and dogs. And now we know that it's really supportive for digestive health. So it's a really good one to apply topically to your sort of tummy area if you are feeling any kind of discomfort, especially if that discomfort is related to an ingredient that you get inflammation from, so your body is oversensitized and it doesn't like that ingredient, then citronella is going to be really supportive. So I'm definitely going to get that into my arsenal, obviously, because that's something that I suffer from quite regularly, or routinely, I should say, when labeling is incorrect, or they thought that the ingredient that they have in there is in too small a concentration to have an effect. I know I'm oversensitive, so usually I do react, and I'm definitely going to get myself some citronella for that. Do remember that it's incredibly antifungal, so a really good one for very healthy feet and toenails. Also, if you are struggling with perspiration, so in a sense, I can see there's some reports being saying it's over perspiring, but also those that are not perspiring enough. And that's the toxic or the toxin reducing possibility. So that's the way our bodies get rid of toxins. Yes, obviously through the urine, but a big part is through your skin, is through sweating. And here citronella can really play a very big role. The oxidative stress. Now, we know that the redox potential and the oxidative stress is not a good thing for our bodies. And over time, if we keep on abusing, obviously there is some chromosomal material that does get damaged, right? So citronella is going to be really supportive for that. Jill is asking a question about citronella with tea tree. Yes, you can definitely put those two in a shampoo. I think it's going to smell very refreshing and clean as well. I like putting tea tree in my hair, especially afterwards. After I've washed it, I sort of make a hair oil afterwards. And then I vary what I put in my hair for the day, depending on what fragrance I want. But most of the times there's antiseptic oils in there, like tea tree and rosemary, for example. And citronella will definitely be one of those two. And then let's not forget about the emotional side, because I'd like to focus on the physical attributes of an essential oil, or the physical benefits it's going to give your body because of the chemical constituents that are in there. But those chemical constituents also play a very important role on the emotions, and specifically the citronellol, which is an aldehyde. Aldehydes are what we call restoring oils in a sense. So they ease, for example, that flight and fight response, and it relaxes the autonomous or the autonomic responses, I'd say. There's also quite a lot of information talking about the nervine properties, in other words, the relaxation of the nervous system. And yes, that is a physical benefit, but when you're relaxing your nervous system, it plays a very important role on your emotional susceptibility and how you react to certain things as well. So very, very amazing essential oil. It's not just insect repelling activity. So I think today was a mouthful of additional benefits and supportive benefits that citronella can give you. And of course, there is the emotional side as well. It's getting you to relax and to calm, and that's got to do with the geraniol that's in there as well. And it's going to help you feel, or help move you from feeling punished, for example, to averting. So it's a really, really good essential oil to have around. I'm definitely going to get myself some and get over that memory of it not working, because this one is probably going to work because it's the real essential oil and not a lab synthesized component. So I'm definitely going to give it a try, and I will let you know how guys know how it works for me. I hope you get it too and give it a try, and then report back here and let me know how it's been supporting your health as well. If there's any newbies on here today, I can see there is some newbies on Insta as well. KOILD, Coiled Essential. I'm not sure who that is yet. I'm pretty sure I'll get to know you in time. But if any of you are new and you don't know where to get tested grade essential oils, please pop me a comment as well. I would happily provide some information on where you too can get your tested grade oils like I do. They are incredibly supportive to your body specifically. And just a reminder, every Thursday I also have a Discover class for those of you that would like to know about the brand of essential oils that I support. If you are not yet in contact with a wellness advocate and you would like to find out about these essential oils, please pop in the comments that you would like to join my info session this evening, and I will get that link sent to you as well. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I will see you next week again for my next live. There's very few single essential oils left. There's probably only 1 or 2 weeks left if we're lucky. So please tune in back next week. And then obviously I'll be announcing pretty soon how the plan is going to go forward for further education on Thursdays, because that's not going to stop. We'll just switch series is a bit. But yes, information about that coming soon too. So thank you for joining today. I will see you all next week, Thursday.